Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Fast swimmers, super fast swimmers, miracle swimmers. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. This is going to be a short but very uplifting and positive and put it into perspective episode. So I was just recently at an event, and it was a 3-day kind of an intensive on just business, trying to be better leaders and visionaries and serving, our members and our customers better. And it was really, really awesome. And one of the nights was kind of a wide open evening, and hey, meet someone new and go out to dinner. And so I did. And this gentleman and I went out to dinner, and he's from New York, and we were just talking about just life and not necessarily politics, but just all the stuff going on in the world and the feelings. And, we both have young kids, and just talking about the pressures that they're feeling, and all the kids that have dealing with depression and suicide and stuff are at all-time highs. And a lot of the younger kids in particular just having trouble making sense of everything. And one thing that kind of came up was that they don't believe in God, and Christianity is in certain areas and within certain segments is not like it used to be, right? And you got parents who are divorced at all-time high rates, and not teaching kids about this stuff. So there's so many kids, and I mean, no matter how old you are, if you're dealing with it now, if you're a teenager listening to this, or if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, it doesn't matter. We all remember those feelings. There's a lot of change going on as a teenager, and there's a lot of questions. And, I can't imagine not believing that there was some higher power than me, and that I was just maybe not here for a reason, right? And that's really what it's all about. And we started talking, and I didn't know the answer. And as we started looking up, like, what are the chances of you even being alive? If we're trying to backtrack it into a God and really you being here on purpose. And if you just Google it, it's like one in around 400 million is the answer, all the way up to trillions. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And even just the fact that you made it, meaning that you're alive, you had to outswim 200 million other little swimmers. I mean, 200 million, that means you are the absolute fastest and most perfect, literally like the best out of 200 million. I mean, that's amazing in and of itself. But even going back to how your parents met. I mean, I think about how my wife and I met at that Braves game, and I was only there because of the skin cancer I was going through. Like, all these little things had to happen for my kids to be here this day and age, and even all the things that happen at birth. You've heard me talk about it if you listen to a couple of the past episodes. I mean, the fact that Jackson even made it, had he been born just 30 years ago, he never would have made it out of that hospital. They didn't have the technology and the advancements that they do today just a few decades ago, and he might have been toast. So, I mean, going back even further, all right, I mean, you start going back a couple hundred years, the chances of you even just making it past 10 years old with all the different typhoid fevers and polio and all the things going on, like just to be a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old, like the chances just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so I would ask you, if you ever have one of those bad days, and maybe one of those just moments or times in your life where, like, man, do I matter? Why am I here? What's going on? God, why me? Kind of flip back to the whole metaphor. If you listen to that podcast, flip on its head and say, God, you put me here for a reason. There's a 1 in 400 million or even trillion chance that I'm even here in the first place. That means you had to put me on this earth at this exact time for a very specific reason. And I'll be honest, I've struggled with that many times. I mean, when I found out I had cancer, I absolutely struggled and almost kind of challenge God, like, why me? Like, this isn't fair. Why me? Now I know why. Same with the anxiety attacks for 10 years. I was angry for so long and just confused and like, God, why me? And there are times when, especially at your lowest lows, where you start asking that question, like, do I even matter? Am I here by chance? Is there really a purpose in my life? And I'm telling you that there is. And when you really think about it and do a little bit of studying on it, I mean, like I said, it goes into the trillions of meaning in terms of the chance that you're alive right now, even hearing this right now at this moment. I mean, it's a 1 in, let's just say 400 million to 400 trillion chance, somewhere in there, depending on how you do your math. But even at the lowest, worst case scenario, you're talking 1 in 400 million chance. That's absolutely crazy. When you talk about 400 trillion, it's like, whoa, man, I am important. I do matter. I'm here for a reason, and I want to keep talking about this conversation I had with this awesome guy that I met. We talked about the all, and this was all around kids too, as well, and teenagers in particular, and just talking about how their question, do I matter, and in the whole depression and having to watch some of their friends get on anxiety medication and depression pills at 13, 14, 15 years old, and talking about suicide and seeing suicide happen in your school up there. And I was just like, man. And I told him a story about my brother Daniel. And, we were both kind of just tearing up towards the end of it, just talking about how special he is and how he embraces that. I mean, the fact that he's alive, he wasn't even supposed to make it to 40 years old, which he's about to be this next year. And he wakes up every morning in a bed, just like me and you, but there's a pretty big difference. And this has been going on since he was born. Not once has he been able to get out of bed by himself. Not once has he been able to feed himself. Like, meaning make his own breakfast. Not once has he been able to go to the bathroom by himself. Not once has he been able to even put his clothes on. I mean, he literally can't even put a t-shirt on by himself. Everything has to be done with the hands of someone else. So think about that. Every single little thing that you do, from putting your clothes on to wiping your hiney to going to the bathroom, some even embarrassing things, right? I mean, all of that has to be done with the hands of someone else. And many times your parents. I mean, that's probably not an exciting thing for a lot of us, thinking about in our 30s, having to have our parents, wipe our hiney and go to the bathroom and shower and feed us and all that stuff. And yet my brother Daniel has a choice to make every single morning when he wakes up in that bed, not able to do anything, having to wait on someone to even get him out of bed, to get changed, to get the diaper off and all that stuff. And his two choices are: one, I can be mad about it. I can get angry at God. I can get angry at life. I can believe there's no God and just say I'm here by chance. Or, and this is what my brother chooses to do, I can just be happy and grateful and put on a big smile and say, thank God I got another day. And my brother does that. And there have been times when I've been really, really down. And then I go back to my brother and I'm like, man, if he can be happy with all the circumstances going on in his world, if he can literally wake up and just be happy and thank God that he's got another day on this earth, that he can make someone smile, man, I should probably do the same thing. And my problems really aren't that big. And when you compare it to literally not being able to walk or talk or do anything in life, right? I mean, how many challenges do you have right now that are worse than that? And I'm willing to bet most of us, if not 100% of us, if you really look at it that way, our problems aren't that bad. What we're going through, regardless of how tough it is, and even my anxiety attacks, when I compare it to literally losing all of my motor skills and not being able to get out of bed in the next morning, I'm pretty doggone lucky, right? And should be pretty doggone grateful, and should be able to find some awesome thing in my life instead of focusing on the negative. And as we talk more and more about that, he's just like, man, like my kids and everyone in the school, just they need to hear that. They need to meet a Dan the man in their life. And I was like, you know what, they do. And talking about being put here for a specific reason. at an absolute specific time. I mean, I truly believe that's what Dan the man is put on this earth to do, is to bring people smiles and hope that, yes, you can be happy, and put on this massive, massive grin, just lucky to be alive, even when most people would think, hey, that's a pretty tough life, to never once being able to get out of bed, never once being able to put on your own shirt and shorts and pants, never once being able to drive a car, to date, to do any of the stuff that quote unquote normal people can do. And in many ways, Daniel is abnormal because he's so stinking positive, even against all of those things that have happened in his life. I mean, I can't tell you how many surgeries he's been through. And, when you live your life in a wheelchair, especially as a teenager, as you're growing, his body's still growing just like any normal teenager. You're hunched over, your bones start kind of growing in an inappropriate way. Our bodies are used to being erect and standing up. And I mean, they had to literally break his back. I mean, break his spine, because he was hunched over so much from that wheelchair every day as he was growing. I mean, all these things that he had to go through. And yet, if you look at all the pictures during that time and the hospital and all the rehab, the dude's just sitting there smiling. It's amazing. It's exciting, right? To know that there's just God-given people out there, and we wouldn't consider him strong, someone that literally, can't lift anything for the most part. I mean, he can, lift up his phone and his iPad, but besides that, I mean, he can't lift weights. He can't do anything yet. Dan the man is one of the strongest people I've ever met. Right. And so many of us, including, this guy's kids and even my kids and a lot of the teens and 20s and 30-year-olds are just poo-pooing about their life and getting depressed and all this stuff. And man, we have so much to be thankful for. We have, especially if you live here in America, I mean, look at all the things going around in our country, and people being persecuted and killed for their beliefs or the way they look, or because they're a girl or whatever. I mean, we are so incredibly fortunate. And so I would ask you, if you're going through a tough time, or maybe you have someone in your family that is, maybe have this conversation with, forward this podcast over to them. And I mean, you start thinking about it, man, I'm the fastest stinking swimmer out of 200 million others. I mean, that's Olympic stuff right there, right? I'm the fastest, strongest, best swimmer. I literally made it here. And even to make it past those 9 months, right, of being in the mother's womb, I mean, there's all kinds of complications, as many of us know, and some of us have been through, that even happened during those 9 months. And then even make it past that. I mean, so many things happen even right at childbirth, where so many kids don't make it. And even all the little things that happen from diseases and cancers and stuff from age 0 to 10. I mean, the chance that you're here listening to this as a 20-plus-year-old, all the way to, I know I got some 90-year-old listeners. I mean, the chance that you're here right now is an absolute miracle. And we should rejoice. We should give thanks. We should be thanking God every single day that we even have life, that we have breath. And just know that you are here for a reason. You are one stinking fast swimmer. You are incredibly strong. You're amazing. You're great looking. Yes, all of that stuff. And so I hope this reaches the right person or people. I pray that for every single one of these podcasts. And like I said, as I share all this with my friend, he shared stuff with me. We both kind of just left feeling good. Like, man, like, yeah, we are here for a reason, and this is awesome, and we should just be giving thanks. And even as we walked outside, it was just a beautiful night out there. And we're like, man, like, life is awesome. And not everything's perfect, right? I mean, there's a lot of things I would like to improve upon in my life, and I'm sure you would as well. And I think a lot of us even feel pinched right now with inflation and finances and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, life is pretty stinking awesome. And we are so stinking blessed, and should be thrilled and excited that God put us here and created us and literally has us here at this exact time for a very, very specific reason. So if you've ever struggled with your purpose or mission, I'm telling you, it's there. You might not have uncovered exactly what it is that your purpose is, but just know that God has you here right now, living and breathing for a very, very specific reason. So let's give him all the thanks, all the love. If there's anything that I can do for you, any thoughts, prayers, future topics, etc., hit me up, joe@saltstrong.com. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will talk to you on the next episode. You fast swimmer, you.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the wall.